What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Harsh Language
Ahoy.
Podcast. What up, Dusty?
Not much.
This is episode 104 today. Welcome back, everybody. Marvin's still not with us. He's still in transition to his new place.
Yep, he's there safe. He's just, it's late there, and he's still not unpacked and whatnot. So,
yep, we miss him dearly, but we'll get him back soon. But yeah, what's going on? How's your week been?
My week was good. Yeah. Largely uneventful. Yeah. Like I said, thought it was going to be a kid-free weekend. We were watching some Friends kid. We thought it was going to be for one night. It turned out being the whole weekend. So got our kids back for one of the days. So it was a house full of kids all weekend.
You're just
it was fun.
Full-blown a dad now.
That's
pretty cool.
Soccer games and practices and baseball games and practices and
it's big
sleepovers and all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Things are good. Just busy. Work's busy. Life's busy.
I hear you. Have you been able to watch anything new recently?
No, not really. Like I said, Agatha is the only one thing I've been watching.
That's Squeaky Toy?
Yeah, Ricky's over there playing.
Oh.
He gets what do you call them? Those monthly boxes or tri-monthly boxes, and they come with squeaky toys. He'll destroy one and then start on a new one. I think he just got to the squeaker on this one. He's been working on it for a month or two.
What boxes?
They come with doggy treats and a doggy chew toy. You know, like you can get those monthly subscription boxes for yourself, where you get like tactical stuff or game stuff or whatever.
Every month.
Yeah. So he's got one for dog stuff.
Nice. What kind of dog is it?
He's a French bulldog.
Oh, dude, everything's on a subscription now. Just like everything.
I know. I kind of hate it.
You can get like a toothbrush subscription. You can get a fucking bar of soap. It's so crazy. I mean, some of them...
companies make more money that way. I mean, old software.
Well, you know why?
You used to buy the license and you'd have it. You'd have that license, that version of that license for as long as you wanted. Yeah. You could pay to upgrade, but you had that license. Now they'll just cut it off if you don't pay their monthly subscription.
Well, I assume the business model is like people just forgetting they have a subscription to things.
Partly.
And just like perpetually.
It's also more profitable.
Stuff. Yeah.
Rather than paying $100 for, what is it? Adobe, or paying $200 or $300 for Adobe for the next 4 or 5 years, you're paying $10 or $15 a month, and then you're paying way more than $200 or $300 over that 4 or 5 years.
I was just going to say Adobe's a pretty controversial one, especially in my line of work. Damn, I got to undress. It's fucking getting hot in here.
A little warm?
Yeah. As a graphic designer, doing video stuff and motion graphics, like I need the Adobe suite. Like I need Photoshop, I need Illustrator, I need Premiere, I need After Effects, and sometimes I need Audition, and sometimes I need Lightroom. And so you're locked in now to a subscription that's like $50 a month or more, depending.
I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Depending on the different programs that you need, it could get very expensive. I recently called and complained, and I actually got it dropped like 30% or something for the rest of the year. But not like until the end of this year, but just whatever the year is.
Yeah, the next 12-month cycle.
Yeah, whatever it is. And I'm gonna have to do that over and over again. But it's such a fucking scam.
It's like cable. Yeah, they raise your cable rate, and you're like, okay, I'm going to cancel. Like, okay, wait.
Yeah.
We'll give you the lower rate. It's like, right. I'm going to cancel every time, and you're going to lower it every time. Why are you? Because some people just don't care, and they get away with it.
They bank on the fact that people aren't going to look into it. But there are other programs out there other than Adobe that you pay like $200-$300 one time, and you own it forever, and you get all subsequent updates and things like that. And like... Yeah. I don't know where those companies make their money, because eventually you reach like a plateau, right? Like if you're a fucking company, you want to make money. So like maybe they charge, if there's like a huge update, maybe they charge you like, I don't know, $100 to update or something like that. But for the most part, there's these other brands out there that do largely what Adobe does. I just never really made the jump. I know a couple of people that have, and have been happy about it. I see videos on it all the time. It's like, why you should stop using Adobe, blah, 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 blah. But
Well, I know open source makes their money through consulting and support. So you basically open source software is free. You could just download it and use it. And if you're smart enough to know how to use it, know how to work it, then you don't need them. But if you need some help in setting it up or configuring with some other software, you pay them and they'll help you. And that's how they pay their devs and stay afloat.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, it's so funny because it's not funny. We're just seeing this in a lot of just different shapes and forms in a lot of different industries and stuff.
There was a car company that wanted to charge you a monthly fee to use your fucking seat heater.
Well, I think
it was BMW.
Yeah, I'm not just talking about that. I'm just talking about the larger issue here, which is interesting too, because coincidentally, we're talking about a movie called Rebel Ridge today, which is loosely based on similar themes here. But I saw a tweet today about the Ubisoft CEO. I don't know if I don't know if you're aware, but their Star Wars game recently came out, Star Wars Outlaws. That's like the open world one, and it's getting shit on. And it did really poorly in sales, and there's probably like there's the anti-woke crowd, and there's this, but didn't really look like that good of a game, right?
Yeah.
But the CEO...
Well, EA is not known for making good games these days. They're just known for cashing in on big IPs.
Yeah, nor is Ubisoft. So Ubisoft CEO blames gamers for poor sales of Star Wars Outlaws. After the low sales of Star Wars Outlaws, the Ubisoft CEO said that gamers have extraordinary expectations and that delivering solid quality is no longer enough. And
the fuck you say?
Right. One of the comments on that tweet was, why is every facet of our world devolving into it's your fault levels of narcissism? And then I just said it's called late stage capitalism. But it's so true, because like it's the same thing as what we're talking about with like these subscriptions and things, and it all just everything just feels so dirty and like gross.
Well, when's the last time you feel like you got a good AAA game that was completed out the gate that didn't need to be patched 2 days later?
Probably Last of Us Part 2
for 6 months straight. Yeah.
There's some, but they're mostly, there's some, but yeah, you're right.
What was that survival game the day before that? Was that the one that they hyped up forever?
That wasn't AAA.
That's what's happening to AAA games.
Those devs just came back. Did you hear about that? I sent you guys
I did not, no.
I sent you guys the article. They popped back up last week with a new game saying, don't worry, guys.
This one's real.
This one's real. Everybody deserves a second chance. And then people data mined the game already, and they found that it's just flipped assets off of like whatever engine they're using. And so it's just the world is crazy. And it's capitalism. That's the blame. But and those who blame who abuse it. But
yes, the abuse of capitalism within a governmental system. Yeah.
So, episode 104, we're here to talk about Rebel Ridge once again. It's a Netflix film, folks. Remember, we now have a Discord. I want you to go check that out. If you want to keep up with us, the schedule, we are trying our best to be organized, and we have our schedule listed almost a month out, so you could watch along and keep up with things that we're watching, so on and so forth. So, consider joining the Discord. We'll have a link down below of something that you're watching or listening on, if you're interested.
I totally forgot that you said there's a problem with the website, and I didn't fix that this week. I was going to say go to the website and find it, but we've got a SSL certificate thing I got to sort out, so that's...
Yeah, we'll get that sorted, SSL.
We'll get that sorted out.
Anyhow, you were talking about, you've been keeping up with...
Agatha All Along.
Yeah.
Now, I saw a news report, not that we're ready to get in the news just yet, but I saw a news report that Disney waited a whole week to release the numbers on this because it did so bad. I think the Acolyte was like 10 or 11. The Acolyte was 10 or 11 million views in the opening weekend that it released on Disney Plus. And Agatha All Along is just over 9 million after 5 days of being out. So
not good.
And that's, I think, more fatigue than show value, because Acolyte opened huge, and then nobody finished it. Like, it had one of the biggest drop-offs of anything that they ever released. Yeah, which it'll be interesting to see how the metrics do for this series, because like I said, I'm enjoying it. I don't know. I mean, I didn't really listen to all the production about how this is the gayest Star Wars or not Star Wars, but Marvel show that Disney's ever done and blah blah, and it's great. It doesn't come across that way at all for me when I'm watching it. It's about a witch coven.
Who cares?
They're trying to walk the road, and it's fascinating. So
what if they were a gay witch coven? Who cares?
But well, I mean,
but I think, I mean, listen, it's not a character anybody gives a fuck about, right? Like, I watched the show she spun off from, and I liked it, and I still don't give a fuck. Now I'm going to watch it because I'm in the bag for the shit. Like, I just will watch anything that they do because I like it and I enjoy it. Even when it's not great, I still kind of enjoy it. The worst Marvel movie is still better than all the fucking DC movies produced in the last 10 to 15 years. So, I still enjoy the shit. But, like, let's face it.
The Snyder era.
Let's face it. You're making a show about a witch nobody knew, who isn't from the comic books as far as... Oh, no, she is from the comic books.
She is. She was a babysitter to Reed Richards or something like. She's just an old lady. She showed up in a couple comics for a second, and they were like, "Oh, let's make a character out of her."
She's like a fucking Z-lister. Okay? Yeah. And, there was a song that got popular while WandaVision was on, and like... Yeah, it's not going to hook everybody, and that's fine. So it's whatever. But, like, hopefully we're reaching the end of this, like, Marvel just throwing fucking darts at a wall and being like, make that. And seeing, because they think they got the name recognition so they could just do whatever the fuck they want. It seems like they're starting to learn, like, nah, we can't get lazy with it. I mean, it happens. Look at what the CEO of Ubisoft just said. Motherfuckers get lazy, So,
reportedly they fired a bunch of activists in like a year or so ago, I guess. And that's when... Yeah, the DEI hires that were putting the message into all their movies and shows, they apparently cut a bunch of employees, and that's when like some of the last couple of movies got a little bit better, and so they're saying they're starting to turn the corner, but they're also talking about limiting releases and the number of stuff they put out. So it's going to be about quality and this from going forward instead of quantity of.
Just to be clear,
which is good.
You want a message in your shit, that's cool. Like, I'm down for it because that's what media is for. Art is for that. Art is social commentary at its core. So, like, if you're not doing that, you're not really doing the thing you're supposed to do. It's just like you don't have to do it well.
I mean, to an extent, though, it's like the Buzz Lightyear movie that they had it was the first like male kiss in an animated show.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people were up in arms about it, and they were told to take it out, and they stood their ground and didn't take it out, and the movie flopped. And that's like a message that really doesn't need to go into a children's movie per se. So,
no, I don't know if there was a message there. I mean, like I said, if it serves the story, who cares? Like, if the character's gay, straight, black, white, green, orange, like, who cares? As long as it serves the story, and that's that.
Right.
But anyway,
but there's a difference between making the character's personality the story versus what the character's going like.
No, I know.
Part of who you are is what you're going through, but making that like the main focus, like, oh, he's going through so much because he's gay. And
Brokeback Mountain's a great example.
Stuff. Yeah.
Brokeback Mountain.
I never watched it.
Oh, it's an amazing movie. I mean, it's like, I would argue it's one of the best movies ever made. It's a beautiful love story. It just happens to be with two men, but it's not like, and it is about a lot of the stuff that they deal with as gay men in that time period or whatever. But it's like, it's not, I don't know. It's just not this. I don't know. It's different because society's different and social media exists. When Brokeback Mountain came out, like, social media isn't what it is now. And like, people, I don't know.
Yeah. And a movie like that can give a poignant message, but when every other movie has that same message and you're just ramming it down people's throats, people want to go to the movie theaters to watch movies. Okay, go ahead.
No, the point I was making is that it doesn't have, like, Brokeback Mountain doesn't have a message. It's just about a thing. Whereas movies now have like a specific, I'm not going to say agenda because I'm not some fucking far right fucking incel on the internet fucking complaining that Star Wars is ruined. But like, things that are made now seem to be pandering or have like a specific end goal, whereas something like Brokeback Mountain was just a genuine love story about two guys.
Yep.
There was no like overarching, like, you have to whatever, accept this or agree with this or whatever, where sometimes that's the problem now, even when things aren't about that. You know what I mean? There's stuff that comes out like this movie, in fact, that we're here to talk about today, Rebel Ridge. I saw some reviews where it's like, here we go again, the magical black guy who just has skills out of nowhere. And it's like, yeah. So people like look for shit in things that don't exist. The Acolyte's the same thing. I don't know why people were calling The Acolyte woke. It's bad, but it's not woke. So it's like, why? Because they hired an Asian actor, it's woke? Like, that's fucking stupid. Or the female, you get that in games a lot too. It's like, oh, female character, it's woke. It's like, why? It's just a female character. So there's a little bit of both. I wonder how it would
have turned out if Keanu had actually taken the role.
Of what? Brokeback?
The Acolyte. No,
the
he was supposed to be the Jedi in the he was supposed to be the Jedi in the Acolyte, I'm pretty sure. And he passed on it. And that's when they got the guy from Squid Games to come in, and he barely spoke any English, so
he was really also good.
Yeah, he did an all right job for not really speaking English, but felt a little out of place.
No, it did. It did feel out of place, but it's like whatever. Speaking of, man. All right, let's get into the news.
I mean, Jet Li's first movies, when they first figured out he could speak some English, and he was in, because I think Lethal Weapon 2 or 3 was the first American movie he was in, because he was doing all kinds of Chinese martial arts movies. When they figured out he could speak some English, they put him in movies, and his early movies, they were a little rough to get through some of the dialogue, but he got a lot better at it as the years went on.
Yeah.
All right, let's get in the news. Let's start out with a little sad news, I guess, off the top, because we had a lot of
sad news this week. Yeah,
a lot of celebrity deaths this week. Chris Christopherson passed away.
Legend.
John Ashton also passed away. We were saying so glad he finally got to do the Beverly Hills Cop movie before. So yeah, and most people don't know who he is. My parents grew up watching him because he was like in MASH and a whole bunch of shows in the 60s and 70s. I think he started in like 48, so he's been around for forever. But Pete Rose also died.
Saw that too. Yeah.
And Dikembe Mutombo. Those are the big names I saw this week.
You missed one other.
Oh, who did I miss?
What's her name from Hook and fucking Harry Potter and.
Oh yeah,
Maggie Smith.
Yes, Maggie Smith. And there was also one that I can't remember his name. Higston. He was a big Days of Our Lives actor. I saw a lot of people about that. But yeah, a lot of celebrity deaths this week. So kind of sad. So
yeah.
Anywho, but I guess we'll move on to some happier news.
Let's go.
Happy Gilmore 2. We got a release window.
I saw that.
March or April 2025, it will pop out on Netflix.
How do you feel about Adam Sandler? I feel like we've never really discussed him at length, you and I.
I love Adam Sandler. I mean, I grew up listening to his stand-up on CDs and cassette tapes, like the Goat and the
Goat Boy?
Drunk Goat.
No, Goat Boy is that's
no.
Jim Brewer, isn't it?
No, he does a stand-up where he's like a goat. He's like and he like the drunk buffoon. These are all Adam Sandler skits, like but pissing in guys' gas tanks and all kinds of funny stuff. But yeah, I love Adam Sandler. I love his old movies. I've talked about it a lot. When you get a little bit older, like Eddie Murphy did this. Eddie Murphy's early stuff was hilarious because it was adult oriented, and once he got a little bit older, he started doing the family movies and stuff. And Adam Sandler's kind of gone down that same route. But he still has some great movies, and his list of movies is so long, and there's so many good ones that I think he's up there. He would be probably, I don't know, Mount Rushmore of comedians that make movies.
Definitely,
I would have to say.
I don't know why it's like cool to hate Adam Sandler.
I don't know,
and it's been like that for a really long time. It's like, oh, it's fucking Adam Sandler. It's gonna be shit, and it's like all his movies are like pretty low rated by critics and stuff. And it's like, whatever, critics don't matter. But I think his movies, even his new ones, are fucking good and funny. Even the more ridiculous ones. The most recent one I saw of him is called Hubie Halloween. I think it came out like last year or the year before that. It's not a good movie. It is ridiculous and stupid. And I love it. It's just so fun. Like, it's okay to enjoy things that like are dumb.
Yes.
And to turn your brain off and just watch a thing. And he does that perfectly. And his movies like always have heart. That's what I love about him. You know?
Oh yeah, he's a great filmmaker and he's a great actor. I think he's hilarious. Like
Yeah.
I said,
his serious roles are really good. Fucking whatchamacallit,
the gem, the jewel guy.
Well,
what was that?
Uncut Gems is great. Yes,
Uncut Gems.
I'm talking. I'm going older.
Or the shoemaker, was that
the cobbler? That's more of a comedy.
The cobbler, yeah.
Man, that was like a black comedy. That was also good. I'm going way back to I mean, it's not, I say way back, it's like early 2000s way back, but Punch Drunk Love,
his rom-coms are great. 50 First Dates.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one where he takes his secretary to a vacation.
Oh yeah, let's just go with it.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I mean, he makes some great.
I don't think there's a
rom-coms.
better rom-com guy than him, actually, to be honest. Chuck and Larry. We were just talking about movies with a message. Chuck and Larry is a great
Reynolds
movie.
has been in some great ones.
He has, but I think Adam Sandler is a little bit above.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
I mean, listen.
Have to get some girls on sometime to talk about the chick flicks and see what they think.
Hang on. Just want to say, movies with messages that are still good and not like pandering message or bad like Chuck and Larry. Hilarious, great comedy.
Oh, yes.
Has a message.
That is yes.
And it's not like a fucking, I don't know, it's just not as, it's just something different about, because it's
the whole domestic partnership thing. It's great.
Yeah, but it's like the way it is now, movies about a thing like that, they piss people off because people are fucking crazy, first off, but also they're just not done well. That's a good movie. The movie wasn't sacrificed by the message, right?
Right.
It just was about a thing. So I think that's the difference. But I just want to say, back to the rom-com thing. Adam Sandler's rom-coms, for my money, are among the best rom-coms like ever made. 50 First Dates. I mean, you don't really get better than that as a rom-com. I'd say Wedding Singer is like really fucking close. Like, I don't know. I would be, you'd have to put me in a room for a couple of weeks to figure out which one of those is better than the other, but I love them both. And then the newer ones that you said, just go with it. Hilarious. There's another one where he goes to Africa and he's reunited with what's her name from Wedding Singer?
Was it? No.
What was the name
Jennifer
of the movie?
Aniston? Was it Aniston?
No, Jennifer Aniston was in Just Go With It.
Was that the E.T. girl?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You're confusing
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore, yeah. They go to Africa, and that's blended. That's a really good one. And it's just like, I don't know. I love his fucking his rom-coms.
I'm never not going to be a fan of Adam. I mean, unless he does something egregious that comes out, like he's got children in his basement and he was the real Michael Jackson.
I don't think that's ever coming out.
I'm never not going to love Adam.
And you know
Sandler.
what's interesting too? He was recently on Joe Rogan. I don't know if you watched that episode.
Mm-hmm.
And all they talked about was like sports and exercise and being old. And like, I'm sure beforehand, Adam Sandler was like, yo, Joe, I don't want to talk about this bullshit that you bring up on your other fucking shows. Because, you know, Joe Rogan's like, you ever listen to Howard Stern back in the day?
Yes.
Howard Stern would have,
jock.
Yeah, Howard Stern would have a chick on, and like 2 seconds into the interview, he'd be like, "You do anal?
You want to sit on the speaker while I hum?"
Yeah. You do anal? Joe Rogan is like that, but for like vaccines and shit. 10 minutes into the interview,
politics. He's like, "Hey man, did you see that thing about that thing?" And he's like, "No, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh man, it's wild. Pull it up."
Pull up, Jamie.
I can pull it up, Jamie.
10 minutes into the interview, he's like, "Did you get the vaccine? What do you think about the vaccine?" And it's like, bro. And then he'll fuck up and say something stupid, and then everybody gets mad at him, and he's like, "Well, listen, I don't know shit." It's like, so don't fucking talk about it, you idiot. He keeps saying how he doesn't want to be in politics. It's like, but you talk about it fucking more than anything. Anyhow, his interview with Adam Sandler was just not about anything like that, and it was actually refreshing.
Is it recent?
Yeah, it was like a couple weeks ago. I watched the whole thing. I
haven't seen that one.
It was just Adam Sandler.
I don't watch all of them, but when he has a good guest on, I'll watch it.
They were talking about like stand-up back in the day when they were both coming up. They were talking about him on SNL and like being old and like exercising and like all this stuff.
Actually, I may have seen part of that because didn't they talk about how Adam Sandler got back into stand-up? Wasn't that part of the conversation? Yeah. Okay, so I did see a clip of it, but I haven't listened to the whole conversation.
And it was really good. And he just seems like a humble, like good-natured guy. I don't know him personally.
And he's a baller too. Like he'll pull up He's driving through somewhere and there's a basketball court somewhere. It don't matter who's playing.
Well,
He'll get out and he'll do a game of pickup basketball with literally anybody. He's just an all-around awesome person.
Every time you see him like in public, like there's pictures, he's always in like sweatpants and like a fucking raggedy t-shirt.
He's ready for a pickup game. Yeah.
He, I remember a couple years ago, like, I don't know, I saw on the internet, like it was supposed to be like a, oh my God, but it was like Adam Sandler's registered as a Republican. It's like, okay, who cares? But like, he just doesn't like get involved in any of that bullshit. He doesn't fucking talk shit about anybody. He just like does his thing, stays in his lane, makes a funny movie every couple of years and goes about his business.
Yep.
And I respect that because Hollywood is insufferable sometimes.
Did we review his basketball movie? I know we talked about it.
No, I never saw it.
That was another pretty good, just not really it was a serious, it was a serious film. So
I didn't see it.
Good message, good story. It was pretty good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to suck Adam Sandler's dick for the last 10 minutes. What else you got for us news-wise?
Yeah. Okay, well, our boy Alan Tudyk.
Oh, yeah.
He will appear in an undisclosed role in James Gunn's Superman Legacy.
Yeah, that's exciting. So
that's, definitely exciting. It'll be interesting to see what that turns out to be. Of course, that's just a rumor. We don't have any confirmations. It's confirmed that he's in the movie, just not who. So we'll have to wait and see. But speaking of big superhero movies, Deadpool and Wolverine, we have the release. I guess this can be out tomorrow. So Deadpool and Wolverine hits digital today. If you're watching this the day it comes out, October 1st.
Right.
So if you didn't get a chance to watch it in the theaters, you can go find it on any of your favorite streaming platforms or sail the seas.
Welcome to spooky season, baby. It's officially the best time of year.
That's right, October. That's right.
In some harsh language news, talking about our schedule earlier, I've already pre-planned a couple of movies. I don't know if you saw it, but I started filling in some of the movies we're going to be talking about. Not that I'm the boss or anything. I just know we're going to end up watching these. So next week, October 7th, Salem's Lot, the new one that's coming out on Max. And I've seen a lot of reviews of it so far, people who have seen screenings of it, and they said it's fucking really fun and good, and that it should have been released to theaters. So fuck you, WB, for not releasing it into theaters. And
we're still on that. We're still on the fence or on the cusp of companies still pushing for streaming releases versus theatrical releases. Most are pushing back towards theater now or theatrical releases, but some of them are still like, this is a streaming staple. We'll get some subscribers out of it. We don't care about.
But you know what's funny?
Money.
But you know what's funny is that the movies that they choose to not put in theaters, or the ones that they put in theaters and then release like a day later on streaming, are the ones that people want to see.
Yeah,
those are the movies that people are like raving about. But then they release fucking nonsense in theaters that do nothing. And then they're like, oh my God, what the fuck? Why did it fucking fail?
Yeah.
Like the Joker 2, I think is like headed towards like a disastrous release.
Oh, yeah.
From what I've heard.
Of disastrous releases. Yeah. I'm curious because Prey came out and there's another Prey. I'm curious. And we got another Predator movie, I think, that's not Prey.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if those both hit theaters or if they keep Prey 2 on streaming for Hulu. So I don't know. But speaking of disasters, we'll jump down to this one real quick. Megalopolis.
Oh, yeah.
Whew. Francis Ford Coppola's lifelong vision is a complete and utter failure.
I saw that.
The $140 million project is raked in a lackluster $5 million worldwide, and 4 of that was domestically, so it made like $900,000 overseas.
I actually got into it with somebody on Twitter about that because you know how I feel about Letterboxd. I've been talking about it.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. Well, I saw a review of Megalopolis, whatever the fuck it's called, and the person was like, that was ? And then like he got called out in his own tweet about like, why are you being negative about it? He's like, I wasn't being negative, bro. And it's like, clearly you were trying to like bait engagement.
Yeah, I don't.
But anyhow,
people are stupid. I mean, okay, what are we talking about? We're critiquing films. It's called a critique, moron.
Well, I clicked onto his Letterboxd review of the movie, and I don't know, he says some fucking nonsense that I don't care to hear, but he says in it, and like he negatively talks about it. He's like, this might be one of the worst movies I've ever seen, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of it, and also, it looks like a Marvel movie. Now, how would you take that? just exactly how I said it, because that's exactly how he wrote it. Matter of fact, I'll read it to you. Give me a second. Give me 1 second to pull it up. Here it is. Found it. It's been over 24 hours and I'm struggling to formulate even a single coherent thought about what I saw. It's very possible that it's actually one of the worst movies in recent memory. I really don't know yet. It definitely wasn't uninteresting, though. It had me laughing plenty, parentheses unintentionally, and the entire cast gave it their all, which is something I guess. It also just looks ... kinda like a Marvel movie. How would you take that? Would you take that as a pejorative or would you take that as a positive?
Well, that's some pretentious Martin Scorsese shit.
Thank you.
Is how I take
it. You take it as a bad comparison, right? It looks like a Marvel movie, therefore it's generic and shitty and blah, blah, blah. So I called this motherfucker out. I said, looks like a Marvel movie, weapons grade pretentiousness must be one of the sign-up requirements for Letterboxd. And then he says, not liking a Francis Ford Coppola movie is pretentious now. I like Marvel movies, by the way. And I was like, no, you know exactly what you did. You compared it to Marvel movies as a pejorative, and that's pretentious. And he goes, why exactly? It's just a recognizable visual touchstone for a generic blockbuster. Don't overthink everything, man. And I'm just like, what are you saying? You know exactly what you did.
You still used it in a negative connotation, my guy. What are you talking about?
Saying it looks like a thing after you shit on it does not give it a good... You could have said, hey, by the way, it looks like a Marvel movie, which I really loved. You're such a fucking
the only shining spot, it looked like a Marvel movie.
Yeah, you're such a fucking phony bitch.
And it looked like a Marvel movie. That's definitely...
I fucking hate everybody on Twitter that talks about movies. I fucking hate Letterboxd. These people should all fucking... Ooh.
Well, that's where the pretentious critics go to talk about that stuff, because you're not going to get that kind of
they're not critics. That's the thing. They're
on IMDb. But yeah, these are guys that feel like, there's like Nick Cage talking about movies and they're
film bros.
Yeah.
You know what else I really
the Massive Weight movie.
Talent movie. I hate art. Like I just do, of all forms. Like when really getting into the art of it is like so fucking it makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, I mean, it's all subjective, though. That's the beauty of art, because something that a million people find disgusting, one person could find, amazing.
No, for sure.
And that's okay for them to feel that way.
There's this...
that's just the way it is.
There's this thing on YouTube. I forget the channel name. I think it's like I don't even remember what it is. Anyhow, I have two pieces of news that I was excited about. I posted it in Discord. Nobody responded to it. The first of which is that Mr. Frank Darabont, the director of Shawshank Redemption and other wonderful Stephen King adaptations, is coming out of retirement to direct Stranger Things Season 5.
Yeah,
certain
I saw
episodes.
That. Yeah.
He said, quote, "My wife and I really love this show. Our content now is so filled with horrible people doing horrible things for greedy reasons, but Stranger Things has so much heart."
He sounds like a John Carpenter, right?
I was just going to say that.
Fuck these assholes, man.
Frank Darabont is very disengaged with the whole thing.
Yes.
And largely because of, I think, his experience on Walking Dead. If you remember, he was the showrunner on Walking Dead. He did the whole first season and then was either fired or left. And that's when the show fucking went downhill right after season 1. I love Frank Darabont. He's great. I love all his movies. This has me very excited.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of news, which I'm incredibly excited about, and partially inspired. I don't know if it's going to be this month because it's October and I've probably got to do a horror movie, but a Robocop TV series is in the works for Prime. Peter Ocko, who did Black Sails and some of The Office, will serve as showrunner. James Wan is set to executive produce.
Oh.
Now that's per Variety. Now, I don't know if we've ever really talked about this, but I think, and we're going to talk about it because this is going to be a Make Marvin watch. Probably not this month because I got to make him watch a horror movie. I think we got to pick a horror movie, but because, obviously we go back and forth. October's my month, and you'll get November. Maybe December if it's not a holiday movie. He's got to watch Robocop if he hasn't, because I really believe that it's one of the best movies ever made. It's not just a cheesy action movie. Like, it is not. If you've seen Robocop and you think it's a cheesy action movie and that's all it is, go watch it again, because there is so much depth to that movie that I'd hate to be that guy who's like, well, you just don't understand it. If you think RoboCop is cheesy, you really just don't understand it.
No, there's a lot going on in that movie.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I'm excited for a show. And there's a game that came out recently. I didn't realize.
Oh, I didn't either. But I haven't played video games in so long. It's
called RoboCop Rogue City. It came out last year, and it's got a 9 out of 10 on Steam, and it's a first-person shooter where you play as Murphy. And
oh, nice.
I was reading reviews about it, and people who are like fans of, if you're like, everybody says if you're a fan of the movie, like this game is it. Like, forget the sequels to the movie. This is like the true sequel to the original movie. It is in tone, feel, everything similar to the first movie. So I actually think I'm going to pick it up.
Interesting.
Yeah. So those are the pieces of news that I had. You may continue.
Cool. All right. Well, according to Wired, Danny Boyle broke some industry norms and opted to utilize the iPhone 15s with modified hardware, lenses, and cages to capture the footage for his 28 Years Later movie.
Saw that.
So we're getting a big budget production movie being shot on an iPhone 15, modified, of course, but it'll be interesting to see how it looks. But I mean, I can't imagine it will. I mean, with movies like that, you get a lot of camera shake and handshake when you're being chased and you're running. And so, I mean, it doesn't really matter what kind of camera you're using at that point, I guess.
I have some inside info about this because my buddy George is he went to film school and he's a camera operator. He knows all about like lenses and shit. He geeks out on that shit. He watches movies in a totally different way than you and I. Like he's looking at the lenses and like, oh, wow. So I talked to him a lot about this stuff. And I actually messaged him when I read this. And I said, did you see that they're filming whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, yeah, but it has like $200,000 of gear on it. It's just a sensor, meaning it's just capturing the image. And then,
that's right. Modified. That's why, because I wasn't sure how it was modified, but modified.
But he goes, it's purely a marketing gimmick. And then I was like, oh, is it? He goes, yeah, you're not even going to notice it. It's got a lens on it that's the same price as a base Honda Accord. So... He's like, it might have some subtle compressed color range and a little bit more noise in low light. So apparently it's just a marketing thing. We're not going to know. However, I did on my own look a little bit into it more. And it turns out Danny Boyle, this isn't the first time he's done something like this. Apparently the first 28 Days Later movie was shot on something that was like not the industry norm at the time. And so, I guess he's done shit like this before.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Okay, well, Matthew Orton, one of the writers credited on the upcoming Captain America Brave New World movie, allegedly has a script that DC Studios will be using to develop a Bane and Deathstroke movie.
I saw that. That's
whether
cool.
or not this is going to be an Elseworlds movie or part of the main DC universe is unknown. No director, no nothing else. We just know that Matthew Orton has a script that DC wants to use for this. So we're going to get a Bane and Deathstroke movie, which I think is going to be...
I saw a really good fan casting for them, and I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
But yeah, that'd be cool.
All right. Well, speaking of games, we got a Devil May Cry teaser out of Netflix, and there was a little bit of a confusion here amongst the fans. They were like, what the fuck? Johnny Yong Bosch will be voice acting Dante in the Devil May Cry animation for Netflix.
Okay.
The confusion comes in because Bosch already voices another character in the same universe. He voiced Nero. He was a playable character in Devil May Cry 4 and appeared again in Devil May Cry 5, and he is Dante's nephew. So they're using the guy that played Dante's nephew to voice Dante. So people who love the games and then watch the show are going to be like, wait, that's Nero. That's not Dante.
Yeah.
And that's kind of pissing some people off a little bit, but we'll see how it goes.
What doesn't?
I played a couple of games. I need to ask my boy Matthias because he's a big DMC fan, and I'm not sure. I played a couple of games, but I'm not super into him, so it doesn't really bother me. But another piece of information about Netflix, we were talking about Magic a little bit last week. They procured the rights to Magic the Gathering from Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast to produce an animated show for this for its platform. This was back in like 2019, I think they announced this. And the Russo brothers were actually on board to helm the project. And so everybody was super stoked about this. But then, it kind of didn't hear much about it. And the Russo brothers left in 2021 over creative differences. And the show was thought to be scrapped. In fact, Brandon Routh, our boy Superman, he's a lead voice actor. I think he's going to play Jace. He said in a recent interview that the movie being scrapped or the show being scrapped was old news. However, Netflix has just revealed that the show is actually getting made. So I don't know if they passed on Brandon or if he just didn't know that the show was still happening. But showrunner Terry Matalas will be making the series for Netflix. And then the main characters are Jason and Chandra. I don't know if Brandon is still playing Chase, but yeah, we're still getting a Magic the Gathering animated show. So Netflix is going to be pumping out a bunch of animated shows here in the near future.
Just to go back to the Bane thing real quick, one casting that I keep seeing pop up is for Javier Bardem to play Bane.
That would be awesome.
But now that would be awesome because in the comic books, Bane is South American.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember exactly where he's from. Is he from Brazil or something?
Argentina? No.
You might be right. It might be Argentinian. Let me see. Hang on. Origin. Did he say island country, the Caribbean? No, I thought no. Despite it, he found teachers in various arts and his incarceration rate. Blah, 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 blah. Because of the cultural and supposed geographical location of Santa Prisca, which I think where he's from, Bane knew how to speak English, Spanish, Portuguese, Farsi, Urdu, and Latin. Anyhow, I think in like the animated series and stuff, he has like a South American like accent and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think Javier Bardem like just doing that voice from like No Country for Old Men would be kind of fucking cool.
Yeah, he did great in James Bond as well. So yeah, he's a great villain.
I do like how Tom Hardy portrayed him too, though. Just like this like very like proper like smart guy.
Hard to understand. A lot of people were complaining about.
Well, forget that. I'm just saying like acting, the way he chose to give him that like, perhaps he's wondering why someone would shoot him.
Yeah,
it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was. Okay. Well, let's move on to the Rumorville.
Rumor
Our
mill.
boy, My Time to Shine. Hello.
Oh, God.
Posted in some information this week. Spider-Man 4 begins filming in the UK at the end of May 2025, and they're casting a new female lead as well as a new male lead to serve as a foil for Peter Parker. We don't really know much about this film except for Shang-Chi director Destin Daniel Cretton is in talks to helm the project, according to Hollywood Reporter. But a new female lead. Does that mean we're getting Mary Jane or... Oh, we already had a Mary Jane. I mean, Gwen? Are we getting a Gwen? Who knows? I don't know.
Not.
We'll see. But... he also reported that James Darcy, who played Howard Stark's butler Jarvis and Agent Carter and showed up in Endgame briefly, will return to the MCU in the Vision series. So that'll be interesting. And also Carrie Condon will return as Friday. So we're going to get all the voices of Jarvis and everybody that talked to Tony throughout the MCU to return in this Vision series. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that show because I don't really know what they're gonna do, but that'll be interesting.
Okay, that's cool.
And then, according to a recent report from World of Real, James Samuel has recently met with Marvel Studios to discuss taking on the Blade movie. He might be the next director. Apparently this franchise is a major priority for Feige and Marvel, and any rumors of cancellation were completely wrong. So, they might set on it for another 5 years and wait to get it right, but they are not going to abandon this because it's such an important IP to them. But hopefully
it's fucking
it's
Blade,
done sooner
bro.
than later.
Like, how do you just get it done? It's not that big of a deal.
I know. Well, Wesley Snipes was making fun of that part, or not Wesley Snipes, but yeah.
Bring him back.
We'll see. And then we got a couple pieces of horror news before we get on to the movie. Parker Finn, the man responsible for Smile and the upcoming Smile 2 movie, gave fans of Bobby P, our boy, an update on his 1981 horror remake, Possession. He said it's still early days for this movie, but we're incredibly excited about this completely bonkers movie. Possession is one of my favorite films of all time. And so what was really important to me was that we were honoring the original and staying true to its absolute frenzied, manic ferocity. We want to make sure that fans of the original who might be a little suspect of a remake when they sit down to it are going to realize, oh, this movie is for me, and it's really embracing what I love. But at the same time, he wants to be inviting for new fans. So this is a movie about, I think, a secret agent. I don't know if it's CIA or British intelligence. I forget. Comes home.
Call out Bobby P.
Robert Pattinson.
Oh, he's going to be in this.
Yeah, he's starring in it.
Is he playing the Sam Neill role?
He's the lead guy.
Oh, then Sam Neill, yeah.
Probably, but yeah. So yeah, it's about a spy who comes home and wife wants a divorce and weird things start to happen. So it'll be interesting. I haven't seen this movie in so long, I kind of forget what it's about, but I might want to sit down and rewatch it just to see.
Let's make this the Make Marvin Watch for October. There it is.
Well, okay. Yeah, actually, that'd be a good one. Yeah.
I've decided it is done.
Okay. Yeah, but Parker Finn, Smile, we covered that one, and Smile 2's coming out soon. But
did not like Smile, really.
Yeah,
although you and I watched it together, and you got to witness me literally fall out of my chair from a jump scare. One of the few jump scares that I've ever actually fell victim to, and literally I almost fell out of my chair because of it. It got me good.
Yeah, but Parker's really hoping that people who haven't seen the 1881 film will go and visit it. So it's already working because we're going to make Marvin watch it.
Yeah, it's official, folks. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Something that we've been meaning to talk about that we haven't been able to record yet, but we will record this week, so that'll be out soon. The original Speak No Evil director has slammed the ending of the American remake. Now, I did not read this article because I'm sure there are spoilers in it. And we're going to talk about the original movies, like I said, sometime this week. But I thought it was fascinating that it sounds like they may have Americanized the ending and not made it what we saw in the one we're going to talk about this week.
Well, the ending of that one wasn't much better.
I'm actually intrigued now. I'm not going to say anything about what I felt about the original, but I really do want to watch the new one now just to see how much different the ending is.
Yeah, we'll have to watch it. I'm sure it's like super Americanized.
Yeah, that's what I'm which will be hilarious or just stupid and won't fit at all.
It's funny.
I don't know which it's going to be.
Well, you know how I normally like to look up like reviews of the thing we're talking about just to get a gauge what's going on out there. Not a fucking this is both on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, motherfuckers are reviewing the new one on the page for the old one and vice versa. And it's like, I couldn't figure out what was what. And I was just like, all right, I'm ignoring it all.
Yeah.
But, okay.
IMDb. All right. Well, unless you got any more news, I got one more piece here.
I don't think so. Go for it.
Okay. Well, Aaron Pierre and Stephen James have emerged as the top choices to star alongside Kyle Chandler in Lanterns, according to Deadline. This is the DC version of the Green Lanterns. So Aaron Pierre obviously is the lead role in the movie we're about to talk about. So we've got ourselves a little segue, and that's all the news.
That is a good segue. Thank you for the news, Dusty. I did have one other thing. It's not really news, but the trailer for Robert Eggers' Nosferatu dropped. I put it in our Discord earlier. Did you watch it?
I have not watched the trailer yet. No, I'm looking forward to watching it.
That shit's going to be fucking good. Robert Eggers, because we've talked about one of his movies before. I mean, you've seen them all. Have you seen them all? Like all his films?
Probably.
You seen The Witch?
Probably. Yes, yeah. I think we reviewed The Witch, didn't we?
We never reviewed The Witch. We reviewed The Northman.
Oh, that's right, right, yeah. But no, I have seen The Witch, yeah.
And The Northman's not even a horror movie, but that shit was had a vibe to it.
Oh no, we did The Hole in the Ground or whatever the fuck.
We did The Hole in the Ground. That's not
him.
No, that's not Robert Eggers. Yeah. That was the guy who ended up making Evil Dead Rise or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Robert Eggers has a darkness in him, and he is bringing it to vampires, baby. And he said, quote, like, I think he said something along the lines of like, I can't remember the last time vampires were scary.
I know. I love vampire stories. They're so amazing.
But they're just not scary. He's right.
Well, I mean, even, I don't know that
the last vampire
there's great vampire stories that aren't necessarily scary.
Of course, absolutely. But the last time I saw a vampire movie that was scary was when I was a kid and I watched the original Salem's Lot.
Right.
That scene.
I'm gonna make it a because I kind of wanted to watch The Lost Boys this month.
Lost Boys is great.
Make it a vampire themed month.
But that scene in Salem's Lot, the original, when the boy comes and like starts scratching on the window, that will like live in my nightmares forever. You know, what did we watch? What was the last voyage of the Demeter? Like, so fucking
Bad.
Just generic and like not at all scary. Like, make vampires scary again, baby.
I mean, the idea had promise. Like, how scary would it be to be stuck on a ship with Dracula in the middle of the ocean?
Yeah.
But they just failed to deliver on him.
But man, go watch.
Had potential.
When we finish this, watch the trailer for Witch, because Nosferatu, because that shit looks fucking good.
Okay.
But cool. Let's get into today's review. That was a really good segue, and I enjoyed it. We're talking about Rebel Ridge. Now, listen. Netflix generally puts out fucking straight up duty most of the time, but every so often they get a little gift handed to them. And this one is by a director by the name of Jeremy Saulnier, and this guy just doesn't miss. Like, he makes bangers. He has a few movies. They're all fucking amazing. Blue Ruin, which is like a fucking like widely praised movie. Green Room, also praised. And he did like an episode or two or True Detective, and now Rebel Ridge. He also did Hold the Dark, which is another Netflix movie that I don't think was as well received. It's probably his worst movie, in my opinion. But we've got Rebel Ridge here.
This had some Jack Reacher vibes.
I thought the same thing. It's funny. But let me tell you something. As you know, Dusty, some people are just not to be trifled with, okay?
Oh, yeah.
This motherfucker in this movie is pulling fish out of a river with his bare hands. This dude's plotting out in the woods for shit that we haven't even seen happen yet. My man had a Bad Brains tattoo on his forearm. They're a hardcore punk band. One of my favorite bands. I appreciated that. But these fucking cops think they run shit. They think they got it all figured out, Dusty, but
it's like a Jack Reacher meets Rambo style movie. Like,
I thought exactly the same thing. I was like, this feels a lot like Jack Reacher to me. I did not watch the trailer for this or anything like that. I
didn't either.
I just saw it was from Saulnier, and it was an insta watch for me. But just from the description, I thought it was gonna be a little bit more about like racial stuff. I thought that was going to be like the theme of the plot and stuff like that.
I mean, there's some subtle messaging in there, but none of it is anything to distract or drive the plot. It's just there. Well, which is fine. I mean, that stuff exists.
Of course, yeah. No, it's there. But it's not. I thought it was going to be like the central.
Says they're getting ready for a redneck lynching outside. Do you want anybody to die?
Yeah.
I don't either. So let's be smart about this.
I thought the racial angle was going to be like the main, like, part of the plot. Like, this is like racially motivated, because the trailer is a little bit misleading. I actually watched the trailer after I watched the movie. But this is basically like an action thriller, more like also drama. It's like it meanders through a couple different genres, but this isn't your typical revenge action film. And again, I'm only bringing that up because if you go back and watch the trailer, you'll see it can be misleading. Like, they make it look like a straight up action movie.
Yeah. And
that's probably Netflix is doing. You know, somebody at Netflix
that might have actually upset some people because it wasn't fast paced at all. The pacing felt nice. This was a 2-hour movie that I wasn't like, man, is this thing over yet? I was entertained the whole time.
I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Like, the tension in this movie is like really high, even though you kind of like know where it's going to go because you've seen movies like it.
Right.
But yeah, so this is the story. This is a former Marine. He's riding through some bumblefuck town. I don't even think we learn where it is.
I don't. Yeah, no.
It's just in the middle.
It's in a parish. So you think what New Orleans?
Oh, it's Louisiana. I just read it on
Louisiana.
Okay. Shelby Springs, Louisiana. So our movie opens with this guy who we don't know anything about. He's just biking along this road, and he gets fucking rammed by a police cruiser and thrown off his bike. And right away, these cops are being like particularly aggressive to him. And you think it's because he's a black man in like a fucking sundown town or whatever the fuck. And you're like, oh, okay, I get where this is going. But that is not what this movie's about. And it turns out that he's riding through town to post bail of $36,000.
He's riding to town, yeah.
He's riding to town to pick.
I don't know. We don't know where he came from actually, because he came from the city.
Yeah,
and he's just riding his bike. And Reacher takes a bus. He rides. This motherfucker rides his bike everywhere.
Yeah, and we don't even know he's a retired Marine yet. I mean, we do in this little altercation with the cops because they see his tattoos, his service tattoos or whatever. But he has $36,000 on him, and he's going to post bail for his cousin who's arrested for possession or whatever. And he is the victim of civil forfeiture. The police basically take his money on suspicion of whatever the fuck. They could just say whatever they want.
Suspicion of nothing.
Yeah. Now, that's basically the plot of the movie. And it turns out that there's this whole higher up, I don't want to say conspiracy, just fucking corruption going on within this town.
Yeah, corruption is the proper word. It's not a conspiracy, as we find out in the end of the movie. It's just corruption, and that the problem with corruption.
It's like small town corruption
within government.
No, yeah, for sure.
When you have when the person in charge is corrupt, and everybody else is afraid of their livelihood, everyone just goes along and nobody does anything about it, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. That's the problem with government.
And that's basically the plot. Now, I had heard about civil forfeiture. I'm aware of it. You know me, I'm politically aware, I guess I would say. I don't remember where I first heard about this. Maybe Jon Stewart or something like this, but civil forfeiture is a very real thing, and it is a very fucked up thing. And
it's unconstitutional. It's illegal, but
it's also called civil judicial forfeiture, and it's basically
civil asset forfeiture too, because it's not just money. They can they'll take your car, they'll take your house.
Yeah,
they can take anything they want if they think it's tied to illegal goings-ons.
Yeah. And so basically, what this is, for those of you that don't know, as Dusty just did, basically, it's like if you're driving across the state and you have cash on you because you're going to buy something maybe that you saw on like fucking Facebook Marketplace or something. I think it has to have a certain limit of whatever. But if a cop pulls you over or whatever,
depends on the state. It's state to state, and that's why it's a problem.
And they say no, you either are using this to go buy drugs or whatever they say. If they think you're using it to commit a crime or whatever the case, they could just take your shit.
Just pulled the money. You could have pulled the money out from a bank and have a receipt and this could be ill-gotten gains. You could have laundered the money and put it in your bank. We're going to take this money. We don't have to prove that it was illegal. You have to prove that it's not illegal, which goes against everything that the American judicial system is supposed to stand for, is innocent until proven guilty. Civil asset forfeiture is, no, this is ill-gotten gains and we're going to keep it, and you have to prove it innocent, which is the most fucking retarded thing I ever think the law that we've ever enacted.
So civil forfeiture involves a dispute between law enforcement and property, as you just said, such as pile of cash, house, or boat, such that the thing is suspected in being involved in a crime. To get back the seized property, owners must prove it was not involved in criminal activity. Sometimes it could mean a threat to seize property, as well as the act to seizure itself. Civil forfeiture is not considered to be an example of a criminal justice financial obligation. This is something that dates back well into the 1600s, this, that, and the other thing. But I did want to ask you before we get into the movie itself. I know your stance on government and things like that. You are more of a you're
anti-state.
You're a libertarian when it comes to government and government overreach, especially. But I don't think we've ever actually discussed your thoughts on police in general, policing, because policing, in my mind, I'm more of a lefty, but in my mind, and I think it's proven all over the place, is that the police act as a strong arm of the ruling class, Like the ruling
Yes.
class makes
they're the enforcer.
Mhm.
When you disobey a law that some politician legislates,
Yeah.
they send a man with a gun
Yep.
to threaten you with violence unless you conform to
Yeah.
their rules.
It's like the mafia. They are the fucking mob. They're the mob.
They're the ones
enforcer.
that come and break your kneecaps.
Yep. And so, obviously more and more now that social media is what it is, we see examples of police overreach or police brutality or whatever all the fucking time now, and it's out in the open. My question to you is, obviously we need police. We live in a society that has rules and regulations that I think we could both agree are necessary for a civilized society for the most part, and somebody has to be there to like make sure that goes the right way. My question for you is what's like your dream version of the police? Because like within recent years, the term defund the police has been thrown around, and it's been very it's been taken very negatively by a certain group of people. I think it's a bad slogan because it doesn't really explain what it really means. I think the people who support defund the police don't mean get rid of police and let's just have anarchy. I think defund the police, at least to me, the way I understand it, is let's demilitarize the police and allocate their funds to better training, better class of individual, buy more pay, things of that nature, because cops are undertrained and they're fucking fat idiots who fucking put on riot gear and fucking beat the shit out of protesters and stuff like that. So my question for you is, as somebody who doesn't really believe in big government, how do you have a police force or a security force that doesn't overstep or overreach? Like, what's your answer to that? What's the libertarian answer to that? I'm curious.
Well, the libertarian answer is you don't necessarily need police.
So people police themselves, which I think is stupid. But anyway,
I think society largely polices itself anyways, but there are certain criminal aspects within a society that you're like, everybody's standing around watching somebody rob some old lady and nobody wants to get involved because they don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
And so somebody has to be, but even the police, like the Supreme Court has ruled, they have no actual duty to do anything for you. So,
yeah.
I mean, what is even the point? I think police are a necessary evil for a larger society, like urban areas.
Sure.
Definitely necessary, because the more densely populated an area is, the more crime you're going to have, the more you're going to need some sort of adjudication to break things up. And you need to have somebody that is responsible for that. But like I said, the police legally aren't necessarily responsible for it. And the problem with police is that they get to investigate themselves and find no wrongdoing. So there's no, I think if we had some sort of, and cities have tried this, independent audits of what goes on with the police, we may be able to do more. But it's like the judicial system. Like if I steal from you and you're like, hey, you stole from me, give me my stuff back, you need a third party intermediary to say, this was right and this was wrong, and you owe this to him, or you have this punishment. So I think the judicial system is more important than the police, because the police are really just there to enforce to keep people safe per se, but also to enforce the peacefulness that goes on with society. Like, hey, you can't rob this guy because that's wrong. He worked for that stuff. It's not yours. This isn't socialism. You don't get what's his yet, at least. Well, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fan of police, but I think sometimes there are some great cops out there who all they want to do is keep their neighborhood safe, and they do great work. Of course. And they are largely overshadowed by the bad apples. Just like every industry, there's bad apples that make, like the military. Lots of people, when they came home from Nam, people were spitting on them. People hated them. And 9/11 happened. Everybody loved the military. And then we get Guantanamo, and they're like raping and spitting and pissing on, people in jail that are, being detained, and it's disgusting. Like, so there's good and bad everywhere. But
yeah, I think the
police,
thing is that police in democratic societies are supposed to uphold the rule of law and protect civil liberties. And, you know, in a lot of authoritarian or fascistic systems, they could be used as tools of state repression. And I personally feel and would argue that we're seeing that more and more, where they are being used as tools of repression and things of that nature.
I think a good police officer will uphold the spirit of the law. Now, if you want a police officer, if you ask me, you want a police officer that's going to hold the spirit of the law or the rule of law? I want a guy that's going to uphold the spirit of the law. Like, hey, you know, we caught this teenager. He's driving. He had some beer in the back seat. Let's make him dump it out. Let's follow him home. Make sure he gets home safe. Let's scare him the shit out of him and hope he doesn't do it again. Instead of, you're going to jail and we're ruining your life. This is going in your record. You're fucked. You can't get a job here. Like, there's spirit and rule where we don't need to be incarcerating all these people for all these stupid fucking laws we have. There's a Twitter account called Crime a Day that lists every federal law, and it's been going on for like 10 or 20 years, and it's going to take him about 100 years to post every fucking federal law that's on the books.
And I mean, and that's why the question has come up over recent years in a lot of really like socially, I guess, like, what's the word? Controversial ways, is like we see police acting in authoritarian ways more and more. Like where I live in New York, we had like that stop and frisk thing for a while, which in and of itself is like an authoritarian. It's unconstitutional. They could stop you for any reason and be like, "Oh yeah, you're suspicious. Let me check you." And all of a sudden you have a bag of coke or a knife. It's like, what? Like, what are we doing here?
Unreasonable search and seizure. And I think it's a pendulum. Like you said, you know, you've got the right side where it's all like military vest and assault rifles and tactical gear and kicking down doors. And then you have the left side where it's like, okay, we're not going to send police to a domestic violence call. We want to send a social worker because they're going to know what's going on better. When the reality is the domestic violence calls are the most dangerous calls for police officers because it's a volatile situation. The person is upset because it's a passionate argument and you don't know what's going to happen. If you send a social worker, you might get them killed because they don't have any weapons to defend. They're like, it's okay, I've tried to talk you down. So it has to be somewhere in the middle. You got to find a common ground.
Send a cop with the social worker.
Where is it? Yes.
Right.
But that's where training and funding and all that stuff. So, I mean, when you live in a society, it's got to be, you compromise. You need a common ground. You can't have door kickers every day or just social workers. It's got to be a little mix of both.
I didn't mean to get overly political, but it's hard to avoid with a movie like this because this movie speaks to that very thing. It's like,
it does. Absolutely.
Where this is a movie about corruption, and it's not just police corruption. I mean, it is police corruption in this movie, but it's like small town stuff like that. And it made me wonder, like, obviously,
but this stuff scales. I mean, you're just witnessing it but it happens in Washington,
Mayor
D.C.
Adams just got fucking
indicted. Yeah, indicted. I saw that.
This motherfucker a couple of years ago was
taking money from Turkey.
This motherfucker might be involved with Diddy.
Yeah.
This dude gave Diddy the keys to the city, my city. And a couple years ago, I don't know if I've ever sent you this, made me cry. They erected a statue of Captain America at Prospect Park in Brooklyn because he's just a kid from Brooklyn. And Mayor Adams was there to unveil it. And this motherfucker stood there and was like, "Oh, yeah, I stand for the values of Captain America." It's like, no, you fucking don't. These motherfuckers are all corrupt. It's crazy. And that's really it. But this movie is, you're right.
Money in politics is our problem, but
correct. Shout out to Bernie. This is where the movie comes into play. You're right. Corruption does scale. I think in our real life society, we only tend to see it, not only, but we tend to see it more in the bigger cities and stuff like that because it's more in your face, right? Like when people get choked out on the streets of Manhattan, it's huge national news. In fact, there were Black Lives Matter protests all over the world when what's his name was killed. So
George Floyd.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to forget that. But yeah, so like these things tend to explode when it happens on the in a place where it's a national scale. But in Bumblefuck, Louisiana, this shit probably happens all the fucking time and you never hear about it.
As somebody who's been to jail for no reason other than the cop wanted to take me to jail, I can confirm. Yeah. Cops can flex their authority on anybody they want for whatever reason and generally can get away with it.
Yeah.
It's harder these days because everybody's got a fucking camera in their hand, but
yeah. So all that to say, now going back to the movie itself, I think it was a really smartly written movie because we are inundated with revenge films or action films.
This was brilliantly written.
Yeah, you get and you kind of generally get like two kinds of action movie, but they always converge in the same way. You have the John Wick action movie, which I think John Wick, the first John Wick was very creative because it treated itself as like a comic book sort of almost. And when I say comic book is that it didn't take itself too seriously. It knows it was ridiculous. It knew it was like not to be taken seriously, so it played into that. You have like the comic book fucking subtitles in the movie, and like you have the characters in the film very aware of the fact that they're about to get their shit pushed in by John Wick. And then you have the other types of revenge movies like Taken, for example, where it's just like you're just watching.
I'd forgotten that movie for a while until you just said it.
Well, I'm just making an example. Like you're just you're just watching a movie about a fucking guy.
I will find you.
Yeah, and I will kill you. You're just watching a movie about people getting fucked up for something bad that they did, right? But all these action movies end up in the same place. Like you watch the highly trained person fuck up all these people who fucked around and found out, right? But this was different because this is not just straight action, right? It's what
it was very restrained, and I loved it.
And it's a much more realistic take on this genre that we've seen so much, probably too much now. Like we need to give it a little bit of breathing room. There's fucking John Wick shows and spin-offs and this and that. It's like, let's take a break. You guys can make money and make other stuff. And so,
yeah, high-paced action for 2 hours straight is starting to get a little dull.
Yeah. And this really like lets you, it lets the plot simmer. It's like this guy whom the way they reveal like who he is and like,
oh, that was so brilliant.
What he's capable of. It's like very, very good because like in John Wick is really good too. Like I'm not trying to take anything away from John Wick. That scene where he's like hammering the fucking floor and like you get the narration from the mob boss who's like, son, listen.
It's not what you did.
Yeah, it's who you did it to. And I can't protect you. Like there's nothing he's going to come for you and he's going to win. And that's that. That was great. But this was really good too. And in a more realistic manner, because there's that scene where like there's the altercation outside of the police station. And while they're inside, she's trying, the secretary or the cop who they treat as a secretary, she's trying to get like the Wi-Fi back to look his shit up.
Combat? Okay, I'll go on out there. What's MC map?
Oh, turns out he's like a highly skilled martial artist and trains Marines on like close quarters combat.
This motherfucker's on the wiki page. I was like, oh my God, I would have never thought about doing that. I was fucking, that was 10 out of 10 genius writing.
But like, I don't know, it just felt like way more realistic to me. Like,
well, and even the action sequence there, like it felt real. Like
he just disarms
when you get in like a John Wick movie, like he does shit so fast. Like, oh my God, like this guy, like, but he was slow and controlled. He's like, I don't need to do anything fast. These motherfuckers, I know how that is. I know how this works, and I'm just gonna like slow as smooth as fast is what they tell you when you're learning how to shoot a firearm. And it's the same way with fighting. Like if you know what you're doing and you're slow and smooth, generally you're going to be a lot more coordinated with what you're doing. So
the other thing I really loved about this movie is that in John Wick, or movies like John Wick, these types of movies, these revenge flicks or these action movies where the bad guy gets what's coming to them, you know the outcome. I said earlier that this movie was very tense to me, like throughout the whole thing, because I genuinely didn't know whether this dude was going to make it out of this alive or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In lots of these films, you know, the hero's going to win. John Wick's going to walk away unscathed. Fucking Jason Statham's coming out of this alive. He's fine. Fucking Liam Neeson's coming out of it alive. They're fine. I was genuinely like, oh, I actually don't know what's going to happen. Because the movie was...
The only thing that I was able to predict was that his cousin was going to die.
Yeah.
I'm like, his cousin's going to die. That's going to piss him off. And he's going to stick around and this movie's going to go on.
Now, I don't want to reveal too much of the plot, but you just another good segue. You're just full of segues. You made me want to talk about some other things. A lot of these other movies similar to this, like again, this isn't the first time we've seen a plot like this, but this movie just does it so well and so smart that a lot of times in these types of movies, all the extra characters just feel like NPCs, either there to die or deliver some sort of exposition. All the characters in this movie, straight down to the fucked up cops, like actually had like personality and just like they were real people. They felt like real people. And his cousin,
because everybody played a role in the plot because it is a small town and you're kind of forced to when it's that sort of corruption.
But you see his cousin,
and you slowly find out who's involved how.
You see his cousin for 1 second. You know, he was trying to post bail for him because it turns out that his cousin rolled on like a gangster or something, or a mobster, and that there was going to be people in the prison where he was going if he got transferred to the penitentiary, that he was going to get killed. And sure enough, spoilers, that happened.
Snitches get stitches.
Snitches get stitches. So like you learn about the cousin, you learn about our main character, which is why he was, you know, doing what he was doing. And so like it was like an emergency that he had to get that bail posted. You learn about Don Johnson's character, the chief, where like why he's doing the thing he's doing. Like you learn his motivation. You learn the motivation of the judge. You learn the motivation of the character Summer and Sophia Robb's character, who like what her backstory is. You learn a lot about her, in fact. And David Denman's character. I won't say anything more than that, but when you find out certain things about him, like you understand like what, well, that was really the only plot hole, actually. We'll get into that in a second, but like there's just a lot to this movie that you understand because it's written well, and the things that you don't learn like don't really need to be known. It's just kind of there to add to our main character or anybody else. So I don't know, it was just very smartly written, I thought, and everybody in the movie sort of served a purpose. They weren't just fucking there to like get shot in the head or whatever the fuck.
And Aaron Pierre and Don Johnson's dialogue was, I mean, that was chef's kiss. Like the way that they started talking to each other and the way they finished talking to each other by the end of the movie, like, you know, Don Johnson, the Chef Sandy or whatever his name is, he kind of flexes himself because Aaron Pierre Timothy, I think is his name. He interrupts him and he's all, "Let me finish." And you get this back and forth, like every 20 or 30 minutes when they get back into dialogue together, they're just quipping each other with shit they've said to each other, and they're playing this long chess game of like escalation, de-escalation, because he's trying to tell them the acronyms about pace and everything. And it's just, I mean, it is very well written. This movie is amazing.
Yeah. So speaking on the actors, Aaron Pierre, he plays our main character, Terry Richmond. Don Johnson plays
not Timothy. Yeah.
Terry Richmond, yeah. Don Johnson plays the villain, Chief Sandy Byrne, and Sophia Robb plays the co-star Summer McBride. David Denman plays Officer Evan Marston, and then our other villain is played by Amory Cohen, who was Officer Steve Land, who was like really just the aggressive piece of shit, probably racist. He was probably one of the few people in the movie that like I thought was actually doing racially motivated things.
Besides the workers building the jail outside.
Yeah. The line about
hang him up.
There was some funny moments in this too. One of which I thought, and they were like
hilarious moments,
very subtle too. Like I really laughed when he first calls the Chinese restaurant that he has some sort of connection to, and the dude answered with like a super Chinese accent, and then when he realizes it's Terry, he's like, "Oh, hey man, what's going on?" But like he puts on the Chinese accent for like authenticity for customers. I thought that was very funny. And then Terry says this one line about like towards the end of the movie, he's like, you know, I don't know anything about, I don't know where my cousin is. Like, I don't know. I'm not educated enough about the afterlife. So I just know that while I'm here, I got to haunt these motherfuckers myself. That shit was so gangster. But yeah, I don't know.
It's or when he's talking to the sheriff and he's like, you know, he's playing the chess game with the dialogue, and he's like, yeah, I remember when you're talking about de-escalation. He's like, okay, I thought about it, and he just throws the phone like, fuck you, asshole, we're escalating now.
Right.
That's because that's the E in pace, I would imagine, is escalate.
Right.
Or maybe eliminate, you don't know, but.
But yeah, so I don't know. I just thought it was a really like grounded take on like this genre of film. Everything down, like even like you said, even the action sequences, like the action, there's not much more action than just like jujitsu and fucking him shooting some smoke grenades at people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like a fucking John Wick shoot 'em up, fucking kill everything in sight.
Yeah, the most gruesome part is when he takes that dude's arm to his knee and splits it backwards.
Yeah.
But that was
good.
That was about it. Yeah.
And when he beats the living fuck out of
I thought he was gonna kill that guy. I thought he smashed his
Long.
skull in, but he just cracked his eye socket open, basically.
Yeah. So there's that. The only thing that I am unclear on, and this might just be because I missed it, spoilers. David Denman's character, Officer Evan Marston, who is the one who ended up being Serpico. He was the one who was giving the information to Summer, revealing like the corruption and stuff. I was a little bit unclear on that and what his motivation was, because he was clearly like a decent cop at the end of the movie. Right?
Yeah.
And
you find out that most of the cops involved kind of weren't really
on board.
They didn't want to go along with it, but it's their chief, it's their boss. They're in it. They're stuck in it. You're already you're guilty by association by the mere fact of knowing about it. So you can't really. You're like, oh, hey, he's breaking the law, and he's like, hey, what do you mean? You've been doing this along with me, so you're coming down with me.
And I think
Summer's self-preservation.
That's really the main theme of the movie, because he says it. That's like, he's like, I almost fucked off because of self-preservation, where that's what he's trained to do. But I think Summer's character really spoke to that, because she says, like, I can't help you. I have a family. Like, I need this job. I have a little girl. And I feel like that's probably, in a small town like this, the feelings of all these cops who were part of this corruption. Like, I need this fucking job. Like, I can't just fucking oppose it, really, because I'll get fired or killed or something else. But I was just a little bit unclear, because it's my only gripe with the movie. The movie opens with Officer Evan Marston, who is the fucking Serpico, who's the guy who's feeding information, basically, to expose the corruption. He was kind of a piece of shit in the beginning. Like, he literally ran him off the road on his bike. Yeah. And was like strong-arming him, and the one who, like, he kind of led all that. So I'm kind of wondering why or when he has that change of heart.
I don't know. It could be because they don't explain it. And it could be that somebody said, hey, there's a black guy with a backpack riding a bike down the road, needs somebody to intercept, and he's the closest guy. So he has to answer the call, or it looks suspicious. We don't know any of that. You can assume it. But I think partially it's also to throw you off, because they allude that it's Tiffany or Jessica, the black female officer that is Serpico. And then come to find out she's not. And I said, well, and I gave up some more information.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that, like, I guess it was just like a sleight of hand type of thing. I don't really know, but it was really the only part of the movie that I was like just a little bit unclear on. And I don't know, maybe that's on purpose. It didn't really ruin the movie for me. It was just a question that when it happened, I was like, oh, that's bizarre, because his actions in the beginning of the movie don't really align with his actions at the end of the movie.
But I feel like you could say that about almost all the officers, because at the end, when everybody realizes that the sheriff had been taken out with the pit maneuver, and then they had an escort from the other cops, that the other cops were like, it's like they pulled a wet blanket off of them, like, Jesus Christ, finally, let's get these guys to the hospital. This fucking nightmare that we've been living in is finally fucking over. Thank God this guy showed up and tore this fucking town apart.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair. But yeah, so not your typical like action shoot 'em up revenge flick. Very smartly written, very well crafted, very like every part of it was like just really well thought out and fleshed out. And like I said, I originally thought it was like going to lean into like the racism part of it. And I'm glad it didn't, because while systemic racism does exist in our country, and it is a major problem in this country, there is just corruption at every level of power everywhere.
Yep.
And like we were talking about earlier in the podcast, of just like things with messages, if any message is going to be in a movie, I think if any movie is going to be quote unquote woke or have an agenda or a message, I'm glad it's one that literally everyone can sort of relate to and understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could be the most right-wing motherfucker on the planet and see this movie and be like, oh, that's just corruption.
Yeah. They exist everywhere.
And, you know, I think if this was just about race, everyone who watches this movie would, or everybody who wants to hate it because it's a black guy, they would just make it about that. Like, we'd be watching The Drunken Critic or whatever the fuck that idiot's name is, being like, here's another movie with the magical black guy who has
like
skills.
If it turned out that all the white dudes were the evil dudes, and the black female cop was Serpico, and all the black characters were in on it trying to root out this corruption, and it took some random black guy coming into town to help them get it going, to get all these old white racists out. But it wasn't anything like that. They just kept you like, oh, who's doing what, who's not doing what. It was really good.
It's just a pretty simple story about corruption, and it really did just feel a lot like a Jack Reacher.
Well, in desperation too, because there's some truth behind like what you were saying, like defund the police and all that. Like, this was the last parish with a police station. All the other parish police stations had fizzled out. They didn't have the money for it. They were the only ones left. And, they were getting calls from parishes all around the area, So they were stretched thin. And so they were trying to make ends meet. And that got them in a hole that they didn't need to be in, of immorality. And most of them didn't even want to be in there in the first place. Some of them were super comfortable, like pigs and shit.
Yeah, for sure.
But most of them, you could tell by the end of it, they were like, we did not like where we were. We're glad we're out of there. Thank you for helping us.
Yeah.
So just an overall great message.
I agree. Overall, there's only a few action scenes in the movie. They're all pretty well choreographed, I thought, and shot. The only tedious parts of the movie, or the only parts of the movie that I could even say were like kind of tedious, were the legal ones, but those are intentionally slower to show you that the legal system in real life ensnares disenfranchised people in corrupt fucking bullshit all the time.
Yep.
Like, what happened to him is like an insurmountable situation for 99.999% of people in real life. This is a movie, it's a fantasy, so of course he's a Marine with hand-to-hand combat skills and will fuck everybody up. But in real life, you get your shit seized, good luck getting that shit back. You're going to go through, and she explains it to him too, and like earlier in the movie, like, you're going to go through a year or more of legal proceedings that you're going to end up paying more than the money that was taken from you to get back, and it's just not going to be worth it, and it's a headache, and you're just fucked. So good luck, have a nice day, move on with your life. And that's what happens. And I think that I think it's cool that this movie like sort of exposed that. How many people are going to watch this movie, I don't know, because it's just on Netflix and it doesn't really seem to have a lot of like noise surrounding it. I wish it did, because it's a great movie, but that's really it. That's all I have to say about it. Was there anything else you wanted to speak on?
No, not really. I think we touched all the bases. It's just a great movie. It's a bit of a slow burn, but it's very tense the whole way through, and it's engaging, and it's hilarious at times. One of the other funny parts is when the dude that had the kids, he's like, I got kids, when he was roughing that, he's like, I got kids. I don't really, not all of us want to be in this. When he's like, well, give me somebody on the radio that does. And then like, he tries to raise his shotgun, and then when they're hiding behind the car, he's like, I don't know. I don't really know who to shoot at. And she's like, maybe don't shoot at all. Right. Like, what the fuck, my guy?
But that's like another thing that like speaks to the way cops behave. We see stuff. I mean, just recently, I don't know if it made it your way, the news, but there was a shooting in New York where they shot somebody over like a fucking subway fare. He jumped the turnstile and it turned into a shootout or whatever. And a cop got shot. And Mayor Adams was all over the news and Twitter talking about a cop got shot. A cop got shot in the line of duty. I have friends that are cops. That's what they were sharing on fucking Instagram. A cop got shot. A cop got shot. You know what they didn't tell you? The other fucking cop shot the cop because they're fucking morons. So
cops do that a lot in New York, apparently.
So that line was hilarious because she's like, if you don't know who to shoot, maybe don't fucking just shoot all the time.
It was so good.
Like, 90% of fucking these shootings involved with cops, it's like, it's because they just act too swiftly
trigger happy.
And inappropriately. And that's where, for me, like, defund the police is like, train them better. Pay them more so you attract a better class of individual to become a cop. Now, let me tell you something. Not to disrespect the people I grew up with. I know cops personally. They're all fucking boneheads. And here, people join the NYPD because they have no other plans. They want to retire early with a fucking fat pension. That's why people become cops. They don't care about fucking protecting and serving anything. Okay?
The base pay ain't that great, but you know you're getting a fuck ton of overtime.
Hey, that's literally what they all say. Base pay is not good. You get a fuck ton of overtime, and I'll retire at 40, and I'll be fat. And guess what? You could fucking choke somebody out on the streets of Manhattan, and you lose your job, and you still get your fucking pension most of the time. So, miss me with this fucking back the blue bullshit, okay?
Well, and that's the problem with cops, too, is a cop that gets disciplined and fired from one department can easily get hired by another department, and they don't give a fuck.
It's like when
that's where, like,
it's like when a priest gets fucking caught fucking an altar boy, and then they get shipped off to another fucking parish somewhere.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. So, I think cops should be the highest paid people in the country. It should be the highest paying job. It's one of the most dangerous jobs. You fucking are constantly fucking, like, listen, I'm not claiming being a cop is easy. If you pull somebody over on the road at 3 a.m. and the windows are tinted and you don't know what the fuck's going to happen, like, that's scary and tense. And I understand that, like,
yes.
Oh, fuck, my life might be in danger. And so when the person goes to reach for their wallet, you just fucking gun them down. Like, but that doesn't happen if you are training these people for years before they become officers. To become an NYPD officer is like unbelievably easy. It's like a joke. The psych evaluation
you go through
is from fucking like
5 weeks of boot camp, police academy training, and that's about it. Some states want you to have a criminal justice degree. That doesn't really help you in dealing with societal problems. It just helps you understand the letter of the law a little bit better. You
barely have to pass the psych evaluation. And then guess what they do when you're fresh out of the academy? They toss you into the most fucking hard ass fucking neighborhoods in existence, basically guaranteeing that you're going to fucking gun somebody down in a situation that didn't need to happen to begin with. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, they say there's subtle truths to every stereotype. And I think one of the biggest stereotypes of cops I know is they all beat their wives. But that's the authoritarian in some of those police officers. They got bullied as a kid and they want to exert their authority on others. Or they want to be the hall monitor. Excuse me. They want to be the hall monitor because they want to tell people what to and what not to do. Yeah. And some of that shit goes to their head and they step over the line and then they try and cover it up because corruption and they can get away with it. So, yeah. There's good ones out there, though. I know plenty of good cops, but there's also a lot of fucking bad ones.
Of course. And I mean, like listen, I mean, it's intellectually dishonest to sit there and say like all cops are bad. But there's that other catchphrase, that slogan, ACAB, right? All cops are bastards or whatever.
Fuck 12, yeah.
I understand the meaning behind it. It doesn't literally mean that all cops are bad. It's just that to willingly be part of a corrupt system and organization, I think there's something to be said for that. You know what I mean? Like, I would never become a cop. I don't care how much it pays because I understand like the nature of the system itself that the police force represents and upholds. So like, I just wouldn't want to be a cop because.
Well, and it's a gang. I mean, snitches get stitches. Cops feel the same way. If you're a good cop and you're ratting out a bad cop, other bad cops, like this is how cops get killed because that he's going to rat us out for the littlest thing. I didn't arrest Tony last week for pot on him and I pocketed it and let him go. And now I'm fucking an asshole to this other cop because he tried to turn me in and now IA's on my ass. Like, I don't know. It's just.
And then you got situations like George Floyd where this dude is fucking in the street with a fucking knee on his throat and 5 other fucking cops are standing around him just fucking letting it happen. Yeah. So, I don't know. I thought this movie was really great. I thought it spoke to a lot of these things that we deal with all the time that are in our faces that most people probably don't want to face or admit to. And, Again, we started the episode coincidentally talking about like messages in movies and stuff. And if a movie has to have a message, I think this is a great one because it affects everybody. It's not just about race. It's not just about, it's about class, and that's really it. It's like, it's the ruling class versus everybody else. And the police are unfortunately largely a strong arm of the ruling class in this country and probably elsewhere. So, yeah, love the movie. Thought it was fantastic. It's got a 6.9 on IMDb. Honestly, I think this is there's two movies so far that we've watched this year that I think are my favorites. It's Bike Riders and Civil War. This is up there with them. This might be my favorite movie we've watched this year. So
I think this is my favorite so far. Yeah.
It was shockingly good. Like I knew it was going to be good because I'm familiar with the director, but it's like way better than I could have expected. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 9.
That's big.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
there was nothing I didn't like about it. Now, there was, of course, a couple things like Christina was like, she likes to speculate on movies to see if she's right. She's like, okay, he's not really like a restaurant guy and his cousin's not really this. And like, it's all an undercover sting to take these cops down and stuff. And then like, you don't really know, like, you know, he's a Marine and he retired and he got in the restaurant business and you think maybe there's some shady stuff going on in the restaurant. Like you don't really, because of all the corruption that they're showing, you really don't know his background and you don't need to know. So there's an allure of mystery behind it, but none of that matters. Like he's just a guy that showed up and got shit on and said, I will not be shit on, sir. No, thank you.
Yeah.
And by the way, you don't get my respect. I don't even call you sir anymore, my guy.
I like how the movie subverted like expectations based on other movies like this. Like I was fully expecting the restaurant to be like, oh man, he's part of fucking some like crazy fucking Chinese like martial arts society.
He's with the triads or something. His buddies are gonna come down.
Yeah, he's part of the hand. There's gonna be ninjas in this fucking town fucking shit up. No, it's just that like, you know, he partnered with some fucking veteran for a restaurant. The veteran happened to fight for the Chinese during the Korean War, I think they said.
Probably, yeah.
Or something like that. He was a field medic. Like, it was just, I don't know. But they kept up that, like, mystery of, like, what was it? What did he say? The tab or the bill or something where he was like, what did they refer to it as? Remember he left him the sticky note and he left him the money. He was like, for the... whatever word they used to
the fee,
the fee, right? Something like that. Yeah. And it's like, what are they talking about? Who knows? Doesn't matter.
Right.
Favors were done, and this is your payment for it. It is what it is.
That happened. Yeah.
So yeah, great movie.
Yeah, great movie. Highly recommended. Go watch it.
Oh yeah, highly recommended. If you haven't seen Rebel Ridge, folks, run and watch this as soon as humanly possible. If you have a fucking TV, watch it. Figure it out. If you don't have Netflix, there's ways. Trust me. It's a very, very good movie. If you have seen it, leave a comment down below and let us know what you thought about it. I'd be curious to hear about it. Don Johnson, by the way, man, does he get better with age or what? He's like...
he is a great actor.
What a good villain he played.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like,
he nailed this role. Yeah. Well, like you said, their dialogue was brilliant. The way that it just, the art, what's the word I'm looking for? Just the dynamic between the two of them was good. Brilliant.
Well, because it was a guy who...
how it evolved, you know?
Because it was a guy in Don Johnson's character who was a man who had this power.
Yep.
And all of a sudden was kind of like powerless to do anything.
Well, he's like, this is my town. This is the way things go.
Yeah.
And then realize oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then tries to correct it and say, listen, guy, this is a olive branch. This is your money. You can walk away free. This is we fucked up. Sorry about it, but we can't fix it other than this. So take this or things are going to get worse, not realizing that things are actually going to get worse for him. So.
Right. And just last thing I'll say is that I do like that the movie concluded with nobody dying. Some arms get broke, other than the cousin.
Yeah.
Some arms get broken. Yeah. Some faces get bloodied up, but nobody gets fucking shot or killed or whatever. It was actually like pretty refreshing to see like action scenes that like made it a point to like not kill anybody. Because that stuff always like kind of turns me off in movies like this. Like John Wick's an exception because John Wick is like I said, it's like an overblown like comic book style type of movie. But in movies like Taken or you know, the Jason Statham movies or whatever, it's like the body count by the end of those movies if you killed that many people in such a short span of time, like, I don't care who you are, you're going to have like deep psychological issues for the rest of your life. And it always just like removes me from it a little bit. But this was like more realistic. He's trying to de-escalate.
Yeah, well, that's the brilliance of this nuance is that you know, you can go in thinking, oh my God, I hope he walks into that police station and just puts a bullet in everybody's head and walks out and he gets his, and he could have, and you probably would have been happy about it. But at the end of the movie, you realize that had he killed some of these guys, he killed good guys who didn't want to be doing what they were doing, or were forced into it through the corruption of the system they were working under. And they were actually decent people that were just, they had a knee on their neck under their job. Like even the lady, she was looking into it, and they tried to take her kid from her and send her back to jail or kill her with an OD. Like there's so much nuance in this about not everybody that you think is a bad guy is necessarily a bad guy. They're doing things to survive themselves, because it's all about surviving the game.
Yep. And and I mean, listen, what's better than like everybody getting shot up is justice. Baby.
Yes.
Justice is always better, because that motherfucker has to live out his life in prison. Now there's a whole nother thing to talk about of the corrupt prison system and all that, and whether he does his time. But in my fantasy, we can pretend he does his time.
Cops like that don't last long in prison.
Justice is served. And just like my boy Robocop, who I mentioned earlier in the show, the prime directives: serve the public trust, protect the innocent, and uphold the law. Boom, baby.
Right.
Yeah, no, that was a great movie. I'm glad we were able to watch it. I want Marvin to watch this. I think Marvin will really like this fucking movie.
Yeah.
So we got to tell him to watch it. Yeah. But that's gonna do it for us, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. Let us know what you thought of Rebel Ridge, now on Netflix. Very, very good movie. Check out our website, harshlanguage.tv. All of our links are on there, as well as some merch if you want to pick that up. No pressure there. You can join our Discord to stay up to date with the movies we're going to be watching for the month. We try to keep that as up to date as possible. But most importantly, leave a like on the video. It helps with the algorithm, and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. And we will catch you next week, where we are going to be talking about Salem's Lot. So join us for that one. Thanks for watching or listening, folks. Catch you later.
Rasta.